All right, welcome to Retro Bar Podcast. I think we're on number 38. I didn't actually check, but that's what we're going with. We're at a new location today. We're at co-host Paul's nice deck here.
Got a deck, and it's St. Patrick's Day.
It is St. Patrick's
so
Day.
we got to sport a little green.
Yeah. My wife sort of made me wear green.
This
is as much green as I could find. A rolling rupture.
Well, that's better than what I got.
That's all right. And
Get green socks, maybe.
today's guest isn't really the dog wandering around. It is Eric Schmitt, and he is currently a sergeant with the Ephrata Police Force.
Yes.
And he is also running for Magisterial District Judge.
Correct.
And so he is, most of his podcast, I mean, we're going to chit-chat with Eric, but we're also, he's going to tell you about himself and sort of his platform and let you know a little bit more about him. So anyway, Eric.
Okay. So, it's judge's office is where? 609 East Main.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it's in Ephrata,
Right.
downtown Ephrata Borough.
Right now, District Russell is in charge.
Yes.
And he is retiring.
Yes.
He had retired from the police department, became judge, and is now in his third term.
I believe second
term. 6-year terms.
Yes, correct.
So he did 12 years. That's who's currently there now. So there's going to be an opening this fall, beginning on the first of the year.
First of the year, yes.
Yep. Right, and you're looking for that job,
Yes.
and let's run with that.
Okay.
So,
All right.
who are you? Like
Yes.
you said, and
Where did you come from as a kid?
I'll introduce myself then.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I originally am from Columbia. That's where I grew up, born and raised in
Same as
Columbia.
Paul. Well,
Yep.
same as
So
Paul.
yes, Paul has some Columbia roots.
Was there for 3 years.
Yes. And so I come from a family of 8 of us total, including
Oh,
my
wow.
parents. So
Wow.
I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. So I was raised, again, in Columbia, attended the school district there. From there, I then joined the military as a military policeman. So served my time in Korea,
Oh, okay.
and then
I was
also-
going to ask where. but-
and then also over in Aberdeen, Maryland. After that.
Okay.
And in your time in Korea, you learned what I learned working with you specifically was the food part of the world.
Yes.
And you had some very interesting food that you had over there that you
Definitely.
explained. One time we were doing I don't know if it was a search, we were looking for a bad guy or something, and on the counter or somewhere within this business was these big jars.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, what the hang is that? And it was a Korean church.
Yeah, I'm not positive where it was anymore, but there were large jars of kimchi, which
Yeah.
is their pickled cabbage. It's their version, if you want to say, of sauerkraut.
Oh, okay.
However, it's
All right.
very hot.
Oh.
It's not doesn't have a sour.
Yeah.
It's not so hot.
Okay.
So that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what it is.
That's what I remember vividly. I mean, that's probably horrible to think that that's what I remember from you being in Korea, but that's working with you. That's what I remember as like.
But thanks for your
That was
service.
the food, that was really like that doesn't look very good.
So when you were in Korea, though, it was obviously the Korean War was finished. Right?
Correct.
You're not that old.
Right, I'm not
You're
there.
not as old as me. So you were over there basically in the, patrolling the demilitarized zone?
I was actually just south of Seoul,
Okay.
at what's called Camp Humphreys.
Oh, okay.
And that was my area. The camp had an airport, which is the only major airport that the military has over there.
Okay.
So that was part of my duties was, patrolling the post, and then also the combat duties that go with it.
Okay.
Back when I was in, we called it white hat duty or combat duty. So white hat duty just meant we wore a white police hat and
Okay.
did patrol work,
Okay.
or we worked in a combat zone, which we wore fatigues
All right.
when we were working.
Yeah.
Korea was a combat zone, so we didn't wear white hats.
Oh,
Because
all
we
right.
didn't want to wear a white hat when we were in combat.
Well, right, yeah.
But that wasn't necessarily in
Tell.
combat, but Korea is considered a combat
All
zone.
right.
So, yeah, I served my time in in that area. And after military, with the GI Bill help, I then attended York College.
Okay.
Got a degree in criminal justice. Concentrated on crime scene work when I was in York College. Then after that, just trying to get hired by the police department. However, in the interim, I then went to work at the Lancaster County Prison as a prison guard.
Oh, all right. All right.
So after a prison guard, I was about maybe 6 months there and got hired by the Ephrata Police Department.
All right.
And that was back in 1990.
Okay. All right. So you've been there
33 years at the end of May here, yes.
Yeah.
So, and I'll retire here at the end of May from the police department.
Okay.
I attained the rank of sergeant while I was here at the police department. Those duties were including, just the regular patrol work, which is interacting with the community every day, talking with the community, helping them mediate problems and things of that nature. And then the supervisor duties that go with being a sergeant. I became sergeant in, I believe, 2004. It's been a little while, so
almost 20 years
don't
back.
exactly remember the year now. But the supervisor duties, then I oversee the daily patrol activities.
So you even though in the position you're in, you still drive around looking for crime, or you pretty much just delegate?
Both.
Oh, so you're still
So I'm still an
street cop.
still active street cop, if you
Okay.
want to say. I do patrol duty, so I do answer calls on a
Okay.
daily basis, interacting with everybody every day.
Okay.
I deal with landlord-tenant disputes, property disputes, domestics. Normally, that's one of our larger volume type calls that we get with domestic situations. So I mediate those and those type of situations, and then also normal crime activity that occurs. Reporting crime, crimes that are reported to us, I'll go investigate, and also then crimes in progress.
But do you have are you one of, like, your crime scene investigation college thing?
Yes.
Or do you handle more of that than the average cop would in Ephrata because of having that degree? Or
Yes.
like if there's a crime scene, they'll call you in and let you do your thing instead of, say, when Paul worked, he wasn't what you are in that respect? Or
Paul was.
but let's say
I understand what you're asking.
But sorry, Paul.
I understand what you're asking. No, Paul was.
I didn't mean Paul.
Paul did the
Two
same
crimes
thing,
in work.
except he was the boss.
So.
And
Okay.
so anything that happened crime-wise went through him first, and then he was able to delegate, or who was available, who's best suited for that particular job.
Right, because you wouldn't want somebody not necessarily trained in crime scene investigation to go muddling around and screw it up for you.
Well,
I mean,
not necessarily screwing it up, because the guys are, the guys and the patrol officers are, trained in, responding to those crimes and then securing the scene and knowing what to do and what not to do at a crime scene. So, they wouldn't necessarily muddle it up, but they know what they're looking at, obviously, and say, well, wait a minute, we need more than just our expertise. We need somebody who has more expertise, So yes, then they would call me.
Now, to back up for just 1 second before we get into the crime scene too deep, was your patrol duties and what that all entailed. Again, you were one of the bosses of 4 then. I guess it's still 4 now. And he was, again, in charge of that particular platoon. And you would be flipping every 2 weeks. You would be doing, your 12-hour shift. And, I had the privilege of working with him several times through my career in the capacity not only of crime scene, but of patrol. And come May, when he retires, that is one of the bigger holes that the police department and the community is going to miss.
Thank you.
Because he is absolutely relentless to the point of 0 dark 30, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're tired and you're just ready to be done with the shift in 2 hours, and okay, we're gonna, make sure everything is good, but we're gonna take it easy here, finish up any paperwork you need to do. And he'd still be out aggressively looking for things. So inevitably at 4 o'clock in the morning, you would get this call on the radio. Oh, I need help. I'm running after somebody. I'm doing this. I found this guy doing this, and it was just that's going to be missed because you are the snooper of bad things. And
Hey, that's what we paid for.
I know.
That's
But
exactly
very, very. The thing is,
our
it's
tax
very
dollars
good.
going to good use,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Exactly.
Paul, who was looking to get out of there at 4 in the morning.
I'm just ready to be done. He is relentless.
Well, that's good to know.
Well, with that being said, I appreciate you saying that. With that being said, and you're right, that's what I'm being paid to do.
Right.
And
Right.
I have an obligation to the citizens of Ephrata and the Ephrata area to do my duty and do it diligently as best as I can. And yes, there were several instances over the years where I was 4:30
one
in the morning.
car chase, and the next thing you know, at 4:05, we're chasing this car down through Oak Street, past the high school, up and through the grass and into the creek, and my gosh.
Yes, I have called
Eric, you know that it's quarter after 4 in the morning.
At that point in
major
time.
crimes
Yeah,
and progress
at
around
4
that
in the
time.
morning. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
He
that's
just said
good.
that he had that
so-
sixth sense of knowing like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And he would dig until he found out
So-
what was
Well, by the sound of it, before he became part of the force, the criminals knew that from 4 to 6, nobody was really out looking for
Well, I don't
him.
know. I don't think that.
They were out looking.
I wouldn't
He
say
was
that.
very, he could snoop it out. I don't know how he
Don't mind me.
I mean, I had big shoes to fill when I started too.
Yeah,
The guys that came before me did a quality job as well. So it's not just that.
My
In
grandpa
fairness,
was a
they
police
are-
chief too, so and I know he wasn't out looking for crime at 4 in the morning.
Well, in
But-
the departments, there is other officers that are doing the same thing, no doubt. But he just, for whatever reason, you have that sixth sense that you knew exactly what was going on. I'm not sure how you ever did it, but so that was the patrol end of the world.
Yeah. With that being said, and related to that patrol work, and part of the reason why I feel I have good experience with, the police job, the experience I have helps me then carry over into the district justice area
Okay.
or district judge, because finding those crimes and being part of those crimes, in progress or not, especially in progress, I'm the one that has to file the proper paperwork. I have to file the criminal affidavits, the criminal complaints. If a search warrant's involved, then I have to prepare that search warrant, because I'm the one that sees this occur. So I have the background and knowledge to prepare the proper court documents and know what I'm looking at when I'm doing that.
Right. So when you go to court,
right,
you got your
I have
story straight.
Right, story is a good way to put it. It's a common way to say, yes, the story as to what occurred and how that story fits into the crime. Because there's criminal statutes, and this is what constitutes certain crimes. With that story or with that event that I see, I fit that into it's a burglary or it's a robbery, and I'm able to do that. So that transpires into the district justice. I keep saying justice because it used to be justice. It's now judge. And I've been here so long and I'm used to justice. But as a district judge, and those type of complaints would come before me, I know what I'm looking at to know if this crime of burglary and the information the officer has fits that crime, or the search warrant they present is going to be the correct information to say, yes, okay, you have enough information to go search that vehicle, that house, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So you also
So through all that patrol work, that's how I had that knowledge and experience of knowing what this.
Yeah, because you're just
say.
basically going to move to the other side of the table.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's when people bring them documents into you, it's not going to be a learning process for you because you've already filled all them documents
I already
out
have
numerous times.
That prior experience with that. It's going to be a working experience that I have, not a textbook experience.
Right. Which is always, and I'm sold on this, a working experience, a live working experience in any trade beats the heck out of a book learning experience, no matter what your job
Correct.
is.
You need that, obviously you need that, book learning experience and, to know other aspects of whatever the job may be.
Right.
But being able to couple that with the actual live experience and working experience gives you that
30
advantage.
years. Yeah.
33 years.
It's not like you just did it for 2 years. You've been doing it your whole life.
Right. And that's the police work is how it's very important to, have. It's important because I have that experience of doing that. Again, it's and it's not just the laws and the crimes; it's the working with the people as well.
Right.
And then working with the other programs that go along with if you make an arrest on somebody and it goes to court. I have that ability to and knowledge of knowing that there's people there to help the victims and what services are available and things like that.
So you have had that very unique experience of knowing and dealing with the victims and know what they've been through.
Yes.
And also, same thing with the suspect.
The suspects as well.
And what they're going through and how can they help. So it's not, taking and throwing away the key. And
correct.
So you have a lot of knowledge already based on, you've been through it.
Yes.
You've talked to them victims. You know how hard it hit them or how hard it didn't hit them. Depending upon the crime,
depending on what the situation is.
And the same thing with the suspect. Like, so where are they in life, and how can they become more of a productive member of society again? And so, and that it starts with you in that position.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
On which way to direct.
Right. Yeah. The sentence for everybody isn't going to be the same.
No, it's not going to be the same. And I'm part. I wasn't still. Part of that process. It's not just me advocating for one direction or another. It's just part of that whole process, and I'm already have that background of doing that.
Now, you mentioned, and for most of my life, and it was weird when I said magisterial judge, because I always knew them as district justices.
Right.
Not that I ever went in front of one, thank God. But is the job exactly the same? They just changed the name, or you have more responsibility or more duties than when it was just known as a justice?
I don't believe so. Just coming up through the 30-some years I've been working at, I think they changed the name of it. I don't necessarily think the duties are different.
Okay.
It's still the duties of the district judge is to initially we'll start at the lower level. They take cases involving traffic citations. They take cases involving summary offenses. A summary offense would be like a disorderly conduct or a public drunkenness.
Okay.
So they would actually have hearings, or if you want to say, a little trial of whatever that offense may be. If somebody wants to plead not guilty to it, they have that. They have the right of guilty or not guilty, and that would happen right in the local office. Then the other next step up would be misdemeanor and felony crimes. The initial paperwork or the initial part of the crime starts at the local level, where they then have the preliminary hearing, where that's to determine if the officer and the Commonwealth has enough evidence to say that this person, committed that crime, or it's possible they committed that crime.
Yeah.
So then, that hearing would happen, and there would be a ruling one way or the other. And if the ruling is in favor, say, of the Commonwealth, if they have enough prima facie evidence or prima facie case, then it would proceed through to the county court level.
Okay.
So that's the basic duties of what the local judge would do. And then along with that, the other aspect is the civil side of it, and that's landlord-tenant disputes. You can file a civil complaint against somebody for, they sue you. The plaintiff would say, for example, you did a job at my house, and you put a door in for me. And while they're doing it, they damage other parts of your home or whatever, and you want them to fix it, and now they're refusing to fix it. You can sue that person to make, to get the monetary recovery of it and things like that. So they can do that up to $12,000.
Okay.
It's a civil suit.
Okay.
So those type of cases would also be heard. The landlord-tenant, if the landlord is saying, that you're not paying your rent, and it's been a certain amount of time, there's certain time frames that you have to follow. So they would bring that. The landlord would, file against the tenant to recover their loss or whatever.
So when you at the lower level, the first level you talked about, where somebody comes in for public drunkenness or disorderly conduct, whatever, they come to you and then they plead guilty or not guilty. Obviously, if they plead guilty, is that the end of that then, right in front of you? And if they plead not guilty, do they then move on to like a trial by jury, or do they come back to you to have like a trial right in your office with?
Yeah, with the summary offenses, if they want to plead guilty, obviously they would assess fine and costs,
And then that's
and then that would basically be it. Right.
But on the other
On the other case of not guilty, then yes, a hearing is held at the local level, and the officer, normally for summary offense, it's just an officer prosecuting the case. It would be officer and the defendant. Defendant can have an attorney. Everybody has that right, to have attorneys, and then they would have a small. Small, but it's local level.
But there wouldn't be 12 jurors there.
No, there would not be. It would just be,
okay.
The Commonwealth or the officer presenting what they, occurred, defendant providing, his defense, and then the local judge would make a ruling. Right. Based on the evidence and the facts of the case.
Then you decide one way or the other.
Correct.
So you are the judge and jury at that point.
If you want to say.
No, because I didn't know how to. I mean, I knew probably if they pled guilty, then they just do the paperwork, pay their fine, and be on their merry way, or go to jail or whatever happens to them.
Correct.
But I wasn't sure about if they pled not guilty, if that then moves to a trial by jury, or.
Well, what can happen is if the defendant is, say, found guilty based on all the facts and the law of whatever the offense may be, they do have a right to an appeal. So they wouldn't be able to appeal the judge's ruling at the county level.
Okay.
So then the case would he would file his appeal, meaning the defendant would file their appeal, and then in at the county court, and then there would actually be another hearing or trial at the county level.
Okay. No, that's it, because I really didn't know how that worked, so that's interesting. And then when it went there, if it had to go to the county level, you would no longer really be involved, because
I would still be involved because if I'm as the judge, as the local judge, yes, I would no longer be involved.
Okay.
If I would get as a judge position. But the officer, I think more like an officer.
Okay.
But the officer would still be involved.
Right, the officer.
The officer would have to go and help prosecute that case again at the county level.
But you, if you were to be the judge, you wouldn't have to go to that hearing because that's correct. Be sort of conflict of interest, I guess, because
it's just the next step process, in appeal, then another judge would do that.
What are the for when if you are a judge, you have normal office hours, like you're not up at 4 a.m. anymore, or could you be on call?
Well, right, for the most part, yes, it's regular office hours, if you want to say. However, there are rotating. And I don't know how many weeks it is because it depends on the number of district judges.
Okay.
But you would be a night court judge where right now they have night court, I guess is a good way to say it. But if the judge would then, the local judge would rotate through that and go to the commitment area or the prison where they hold the night court. And so it may have to be called in at a certain time, whatever hour, and that's normally special times, or special cases that come up.
Search warrants.
Yeah, like search warrants, things like that. And then the county has a program where if I would arrest a person at 2 o'clock in the morning, I take the paperwork and I take them to the county prison to central booking is what's called. And then at 7 a.m. or thereabouts, whatever the time may be, the judge will then, hear the case and do the preliminary arraignment at that time of that person for that crime. Or they may be in at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night and do it then as well. They do it twice a day. So as a rotating judge for that program of the part of the system, then you would be like on call, for the week.
Since you're talking about arraignments, so what is an arraignment and what would be the outcome of the arraignment?
An arraignment is the initial step. So you would arrest somebody with the paperwork, you bring them before the local judge, and the judge arraigns them on that charge. They let the defendant know and be aware of what the charge is, and then from that point, they may set a bail, and it could be a monetary bail, which they call cash bail, or they could be released on their own. They could be released on a surety, which is part of the bail. And then you have an opportunity then to try and have a bail bondsman help them put up the bail amount.
So what's the criteria for the bail? So if somebody is arrested for public drunk compared to arrest for an assault,
Well,
like there are two different crimes. One's more serious than the other.
Right.
Like what are some of the parameters? Like a judge would look at it and set a monetary number to. What's the monetary number for?
Mm-hmm.
And how does it come about it?
Yeah, well, summary offenses, you don't have arraignments, which would be a public drunkenness, like you mentioned. With other more serious offenses, misdemeanors, felonies, the bail is based on the crime, the effect on the community, and also the effect on the victim, of course, and the defendant themselves. So it'd be like the defendant's background, the defendant's ability to post bail. Do they have a job? Are they from out of the area, out of state? Are they homeless? Things of that nature is what would play into what type of bail is provided or set.
With the idea that they are going to show up for the next
Right.
stage of the criminal
Right.
justice system.
As I
They're gonna
mentioned,
show up for the next hearing.
it's the surety, the ability to make sure, or have the ability to make sure that they're going to appear for the next.
Right, as
step
part of
course.
but obviously, like you said, the bigger portion of it is the safety of the victim, the safety of the community,
Yes.
and if this person is put back on the street, what's the likelihood that they're going to
Reoffend,
and hurt somebody
right,
else?
hurt somebody else, or cause more issues with the actual victim. So we have to. That gets played into the whole bail issue.
Right. And the way it was there was parameters, like if somebody came in for an assault, like two guys got into a fight of some kind and it raised to the level of a misdemeanor, there would be bail set, and that bail set compared to like a homicide would be completely different.
Yes.
There's parameters in that, okay, so these guys are in a fight, I don't like you, so I'm going to make it that you never get out of jail. That can't happen.
Right. Yeah. The victim does, now have more say in the process of bail. There's a new act that was just recently passed. I don't know exactly when, but within the last couple of years or so, I think, where the victim does have a opportunity to provide a statement to say, this is the impact on me. And then the police officer would get that statement and then provide that information to the judge at the time that they're being arraigned. So that now plays into it,
Sure.
more so than just the officer saying, well, the victim said,
Right.
The victim can actually make a statement.
Okay.
And that could be really impactful because you're a victim of the crime, and the next day you see that same person walking down the street.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, why are they just did this? Why are they not in jail?
Right.
Well, there's
And then
parameters. There's
the
rules that you have to
Right,
follow.
the rules are there, and also, as part of that, you say, the victim sees them walk. Well, we have to notify. And again, I'm kind of go back to the police officer part of it. We have to advise the victim of what the actual outcome of the bail is. The time of arraignment, so they know and they're aware that either they were committed or not committed, or what the process or what point in the process they're at, or they were released on bail. So that, the police have that obligation, along with the justice system has that obligation to notify the victim. Because
With the bail, and this is just my own ignorance. Okay, somebody posts bail, so that there's a chunk of money that now they gave somebody saying they'll reappear.
yes,
So if they don't reappear, that chunk of money goes where?
I'm not quite sure. It's part of the county, bail system and the justice system. I was never privy to exactly where the money goes, per se. But it's kept with obviously that case.
Okay.
So it's tracks with the case, so they know what bail was put up regarding this
And
particular case.
if they do show up for their hearing, do they then get that money back, like that bail money, like whoever puts up bail?
Right.
If they show up, then does that bail money like get reimbursed to them, or that money still is kept by the county or whatever?
I can't say for yes. I would say yes, it would. And the bail administration, who's part of the county justice system, deals with that and how that occurs, and
Okay.
exactly what goes where.
Because I guess bail. I mean, I always heard the term bail bondsman. So a lot of times the actual assumed criminal isn't actually getting money out of his own bank account to post bail. They usually have these.
There are bail bondsmen, like you
Okay.
indicated. They pay a fee, whatever the bail bondsman fee is. They pay that fee directly to the bail bondsman to, like you're saying,
put up the money.
Yeah, put the money
Okay.
up front for them. If you want to say.
Well, and that's a good point, because generally a bail could be $20,000.
Right.
So what criminal, or really anybody really, for that matter, has
Yeah.
20,000, and they don't take anything but cash, or you can put your house up, but there is a long process in getting that assessed to make sure that the court would get their money. So now they owe the court $20,000. Yeah, they might get that back, or a portion of it back,
Right.
but they have to put that up first to stay out of jail. So then that's
Yeah,
how
that's
bail
what
bondsman came in.
Makes a
You pay
living
them-
basically is
You
charging
pay them-
interest on his money.
Right.
Basically.
You pay them 10% or whatever their fee is, and then they put up the rest of it, and they take that risk.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, if the defendant doesn't show
And
up,
bail bondsman is out that money.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a whole another separate process that I never got involved
and
with.
that's a good question, and that's one that what I think listeners might have a question on. But it doesn't directly.
It doesn't impact the
You don't have a decision making in that part of the world. You set the monetary value, and
right.
if that's the case,
If that's the case, right? It could be they're just released without bail,
Yeah.
without requiring bail.
Right.
So now you can jump. I just wanted to touch base on like a lot of things back in the background. You can touch base on the CSI part of it because that's huge. The detail that he has and the experience he has in that end of the world.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's not many people have that.
No.
I mean,
No.
So yeah, I mean, yes, with that you had mentioned earlier about I went to college, criminal justice, and concentrated on that. Fortunately, when I became an officer with Ephrata, there was a need for that here in Ephrata. I mean, the officers were trained to do that, but I guess maybe because I was like fresh out of the academy, fresh out of high school, or not high school, college, with that type of degree. The one detective's like, well, if you want to be our crime scene guy, you can do that.
Yeah. And that I would find that being
And
sort of an interesting part of it.
it was very interesting. Yeah, it's still interesting. It really, that's kind of my passion of,
Yeah.
the police work is the crime scene work. But my first major case that I dealt with was a large-scale criminal mischief at the middle school.
Okay.
And I mean, that was a very large, the whole school was vandalized. And I helped solve that. And I say help because there's other people involved. It's not just me, but I helped solve that, case. And with some, people in the area. So with that, then, that kind of blossomed from there, if you want to say, is to be doing more work.
Right.
And we had a homicide in '92, the end of '92, and the detective in charge at the time handed me a briefcase and said, "You want to do crime scene work? Here you go." And he gave me a briefcase.
Hey, no better way to learn.
That had my tools in it.
Yeah.
And that was not enough. So of course I called for help. And a lot of times with crime scene work, it's knowing other people that are specialists at certain areas of the crime scene work. You know who to call for that help, because it's teamwork.
Right.
To accomplish these type of tasks. So yes, I called the state police, and together then we helped process that scene. So again, it just kind of grew from there. I knew there was a need for that here in Ephrata. So from there, I just fortunate enough working in Ephrata, they saw that I was motivated, I guess, to do this type of work.
See
And
what
they started,
staying up till 6
they
does.
started, providing me with the tools that I needed, to do the crime scene work the right way.
So your initial crime scene kit improved over the years.
Absolutely. To the point that I now have a truck. Well, not I. We have, like a truck full of equipment. We have, large toolboxes that we, can start.
So are you now at the level where maybe another jurisdiction would call you in because you now have more than what they do?
Yes.
Okay.
So, through the years, I started actually going to other departments to help them process the crime scene. And then the Lancaster County got together with the Major Crimes Task Force. So I became part of that as crime scene technician, CSI guy.
Okay.
So we have our own now, which we started, I think back in 2000 we started with a crime scene group that specifically went with the major crimes then to process the scenes.
Okay.
So we could go all around the county then.
Okay.
So my part of it with the county was I went all around the county, but I was in charge of the Northeast, like we split it up into 4, so I was in charge of the Northeast quadrant at the time. And with all that work, doing that, it just gave me the ability and the knowledge and to be able to learn firsthand. And through the crime scenes, search and seizures, the proper way to do things. We had protocols that we have in place to, when you come to a crime scene, this is what you do, and this is how you do it. And you need to do it in a certain manner because it matters when you get to court.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed type situation.
Yeah.
So that way you can have success in the courtroom.
One of the things that he doesn't really like to blow himself up here a bit, but he really has earned it. Effort is big enough that there was a team. Like, he'd be part of creating, this person has the ability to do the job of a crime scene, because not every officer does. Every officer has different specialties. You have, the SWAT guys. You have the bike guys, you have, there's so many different variations, and the officer most of them are good at specifically one thing. So he would be part of getting to know an officer to see what he would be really good at, and kind of introduce them and mentor them. And he became the boss from the very beginning of all that. And he is very good at what he does. And then he can stand back at a scene and say, okay, this is what we need to do, because every scene is different. And it'd be like ding, 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 ding. And he knew which officer was good at whatever he did. Although we're small enough that every officer did every job,
right.
But he still were better. Like, I was better at forensic photography maybe than other stuff. So.
Yes.
Okay, so, this guy, you go do this.
Right, we get this scene, I would make sure he'd be taking
pictures.
Yeah.
And that went throughout the whole county. Like, he is one of the best in the whole county in what he does. And he is very well known for that. You have a crime. And if I have a crime, you know who I want to come solve my crime? Him.
Okay.
Because I know he is absolutely relentless.
I did want to ask, that being said, and congratulations on that, are there any crime scenes that you were in charge of that are still open, that you weren't able to pin down? And I'm not saying this to demean you. I'm just curious.
Every officer has that.
Yes.
So there are open cases from
issues
15 years ago that
yes.
And that's just because, I guess, the criminal either got lucky or was very good at what he did, or
it just depends.
But what intrigues me most of
several
everything,
cases over the years that they just have not been solved,
and that's the thing that intrigues me. Like, if I were you, with your knowledge, I fully understand why you're going for this judge thing, but I think in retirement I would become like a private investigator that would try and solve unsolved crimes.
Yes.
Because I think you enjoy it and you're good at it.
Right. And we, the officers that are here now, the younger officers are also intrigued by that. So we have actually been actively working on some of the cases that are cold cases, if you want to call them, like everybody calls them now, cold cases. So we are actively working our cold cases. We have these young officers that are willing and wanting
and maybe know a little bit more technologically advanced.
We have more technology now.
Yeah.
The DNA is there now versus 30 years ago we didn't have the DNA advanced the way it is now. So we do have these cold cases still being actively worked.
So you don't have there is no particular position within your force of just somebody that got hired and all they do is focus on them cold cases.
No, we're not a large department to do that.
Because I was going to apply for that job.
But there could be. There's enough of crime to go around that not only could you do Ephrata, you could do the higher profile cases in other areas that could easily be a full-time
Yes,
job.
and there are obviously retired officers and detectives that do get into that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you say that with the passion, and he does have that passion.
Yeah.
I mean, he still has it. I don't know how he still has it because
It's
I lost it. I mean, it wears on you. You go in there and you see the most gruesome things that people shouldn't see.
Yeah.
The officer goes in there, the initial officer, and takes a quick look and say, this is a crime. Steps out, calls CSI, right? We get in there, we're flipping bodies.
Yeah.
For me, yes, it's the intrigue of it, and I want to solve this, but it's because I want to solve it for the victim.
Right. Yeah, that's what I get.
Because I do, some people think it might be cliche, but I do care about the victim and what happens
and society in general. Because if you don't catch somebody, they might do it again.
Absolutely. I got burned out. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm done. I just can't do it. He still has that passion, and the younger guys do too. Just like I did. You want to go solve that because it is interesting. It's very intriguing, especially when you do. I enjoyed autopsies, as weird as that may be. I really enjoyed. We have a really good pathologist in Lancaster County, Dr. Ross, that was a teaching guy, and he would ask you, "Do you want to learn how to do this, or you want?" And I would always be, "Yeah, show me how to do this. I'm interested." Well, we're going to cut here, we're going to look here, and this is cancer. This person died of cancer because it was unknown how they died because they were very young and they wanted to do an autopsy. I never saw cancer before.
Yeah.
Well, this is what cancer is. This is what it looks like when you open somebody up. Things like that that was intriguing. But you can get burned out. You really can. It just eats you up.
But again, I feel like I still have. I'm not burned out.
Yeah.
So that's why I still enjoy it. But it's the point of again, it sounds cliche, but I'm there for the victim, to help the victim through those type of things, and that's what motivates me.
Right.
And to be able to help the community that way, in that respect, and being the district judge, it's kind of just another aspect of being able to help people.
Right.
And the victims and the defendants,
right,
and do it in that capacity versus just a police officer capacity.
Now, if the position you're running for, you would be overseeing what communities? You would be the judge of
it's called 02-2-07 district.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
So on the sign, that's not a date, that's the actual district number. But that district is basically the Ephrata School District. So it's Ephrata Borough, Ephrata Township, Clay Township, and Akron Borough.
Right.
So that's the area
that you would
district
represent,
covers.
I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would see cases from all those areas.
Unless he was on call, then it's the whole county.
Then it would be the county.
Everybody
would be on call for a particular week. Yes.
And the position of judge is an elected position. And I guess that's okay. I don't know. In my own opinion, I think that should be more like a job you apply for and get hired, as opposed to having the general public, most of which, other than listening to this or knowing you personally, have no idea what your background is, and they're just they're just casting a vote for somebody. And so you would run the risk of getting somebody in that position based on their popularity rather than their actual knowledge, which is what all politicians are. But I think somebody who, and I'm not, but in my opinion, that position shouldn't be left to the general population who is probably fairly ignorant of what you would be doing behind that desk and what your experience is before you got behind it. I mean, it doesn't seem...
Yeah. I mean, you say ignorant, but I think it's just not informed.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I...
Yeah, no, I know.
consider
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, they're just not informed, so that's, why doing something like this today is good to, kind of let people understand what that position's about and who the person is that's seeking that position.
Right.
I mean, this is, a very good opportunity to be able to let people know, who I am, and why I feel I'm the best candidate for it.
Is all judge positions, county level, like if you have to go to district court or whatever, are all those elected positions?
Yes.
So it's not like, okay, now you're elected for this, but you could move on and get hired for that. You would have to rerun for a higher position. Okay.
So, I mean, just to connect the CSI part of the job now, like the passion he has for doing the right thing and dealing with the victims, and how he continues to gain more knowledge on the new crime waves, the new ways of solving crime, and the judge, the same type of thing. What's the new crime nowadays, compared to years back? There's cyber crimes now.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the judge has to know about cyber crimes, and he has that passion to learn exactly where the community's going and how to deal with that. And I've seen that. Like I would have never thought that you would go to the bone specialist. What do you call that? I forget the word for it. You're training when you go dig up bones and you get
archaeologists and anthropologists would be involved.
There you go. But it's not just finding the bones; it's
interpreting what the bone's about. Right.
And,
so I'm
what happened,
experts in how. Yeah. Right.
No, that's the neat part. I think that's the intriguing part of it. Like I don't want to be in a gunfight. I don't want to be speeding after a car. But I would really enjoy digging up old bones and trying to figure out who they came from.
You're probably going to find an ancient alien somewhere.
Well, that would be scary. Or maybe some buried treasure while I'm looking.
That's right. You used to do
I still have them out. I haven't had them out in a while. In fact, I'd like to get them again.
But I mean, you're saying about the changing, aspects of things. There's cybercrime, things like that are up and coming, and we have now. It's just on the lines of me, being the police officer. I have that updated training all the time.
Yeah.
Every year we must be certified. So I am certified to be a police officer. So I have to have training, obviously, to get that certification.
Yeah.
So we get case law updates. At that training, of course. But then throughout the year, we also get other case law updates. Certain cases that came through the court system, and now it has changed a way we have to practice, sets a precedence, or the way we have to practice, if you want to say, of our policing. How to properly search a vehicle. Versus last year we could do this year now it's been changed because of the case law, and we can't search the vehicle this way or whatever the case may be. I'm just using broad examples.
Right.
So I'm constantly with having that information,
all to benefit to the victim and the community.
Yeah.
And you said you talk about we talk about cyber crimes and your experience with cyber crimes, and me in the school and the kids having phones and the kids taking illegal pictures with their phones and sending them back and forth. Right? That's a crime. It's done by a teenager that's not fully developed or doesn't know the law or doesn't really comprehend what's going on. And this is where he can step in and say, okay, so this isn't, a 50-year-old creeper.
Yeah. It's
right. This is a kid that
really
doesn't really understand.
They don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
there's a difference.
Take that into consideration.
That's up to speed. That's been on the road, that's dealt with these kids, that's helped put them in a separate program to keep them out of court, help put them in a program that is more of a teaching program, gives them a second chance, I mean, you know all that.
Right.
Right.
And, you know, we have the youth aid panel in Ephrata,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, the other alternative program he speaks
Mhm.
about is you have that ability, you know, as the police to send them towards that avenue instead of sending them to the court.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So those programs are there, you know, so if something
And-
would come
and
before the court,
You know
I
that
can
program.
help advocate for, you know, sending somebody towards that program or, you know, say, hey, would this be a better option for them instead of, you know, yes, they need to be held, you know, accountable or responsible,
Right.
but we can do it in this manner instead of
Yeah.
sending them to jail
Yeah,
or,
because
you know, assessing a large fine.
They
things
screwed
like
up
that. You know,
because they
there's
really didn't know what
options.
they were doing, and yeah, they
The
screwed
options
up.
are there.
But
And he has that knowledge, and not everybody has that knowledge. A police officer is going to have that knowledge
yeah,
because they've been through it. They've prosecuted it, or they've dealt with the kids and the parents and what it does. And not everybody has that experience. And
Right.
he does. He
Right.
has that.
And
It's an
yeah.
all-around kind of a.
Right.
well, that's and yeah,
You know, I having that ability and knowledge and experience of prosecuting my own cases at the local level, and you know, helping with the defense and prosecution, you know, for the higher crimes
Yeah.
and misdemeanors. You know, like you're saying, I have that knowledge to be able to help. Again, it's big. You know, it's a teamwork. It's not just me saying do this or
Right.
getting to do that.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I would suggest, well, maybe this, you know, based on what I went through with this person as, you know, with the arrest and, you know, would this be a better alternative and, you know, agreeable to that and
Right.
talk with, you know, everybody involved to see if that's a better, option, you know, for the
And
person.
in that same thought
But also
process,
Keeping in mind the victim, you know, make sure
Yeah.
that the victim, they're all involved with this. That's what I'm saying. It's like a teamwork, as
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
victim's involved.
right.
The community aspects involved, you know, so you got to
and that,
balance that, you know.
Yeah,
And that's a unique crime because the victim in that crime could be the person that actually did the crime. So a teenager takes an inappropriate picture of themselves, not knowing, and they send it out, and then that gets sent out to numerous people, and that person now gets harassed, or that affects the rest of their life because everybody can see that picture online, right?
Yeah.
That suspect who created the crime can be the victim, which is very unique.
Yeah,
You know,
because
and
I mean, they did what they did, but then they're suffering bullying.
yes, right. It's
so
going to affect them more than
Yeah.
anybody. It's not going to affect anybody else so much
Yeah,
as it's going to affect them, but they're the ones who created it.
yeah. They
They
dug
have
their
to
own
be-
hole,
They
basically.
did, but they have to
But-
be held accountable for
Yeah.
it and learn what they did wrong. And in that same thought process, truancy.
Yes.
You know, the judge deals with truancy in schools.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You actually so if some kid ain't showing up, he comes they get brought to you.
The school goes through rules,
The
a whole
school
bunch
has-
of rules, and jumps through a bunch of hoops.
Yeah,
But
there's-
eventually,
right. I believe it's Act 138 is
Okay.
the truancy portion of that.
And then you
And the school would
or
file,
a
they
judge
have the
would
ability to file
like-
against truancy.
and the penalty would be a fine or a
Well, they don't like necessarily assessing fines. There's a whole lot of aspects to that.
who pays the fine?
Right, you know,
right.
it all
'Cause
depends.
Student, obviously.
It all
And if
depends
it's a
on what-
teenager,
yeah.
how do you physically pick them up by the hair
Yeah,
and take them to school?
yeah, yeah.
So that's a big
So-
challenge.
Right.
For
Well,
them.
right.
There's
Well,
certain-
actually, yes.
there's
What is the
parameters.
answer?
There's parameters that the local judge can follow to properly assess each situation that would be brought before him. So there's not a blanket answer as to fines.
But I guess it'd be
happen.
why are you not coming to school? Or,
It's the whole idea of yes, you want to be able to figure that out. I guess through the process to get them back to school
And listening to the school admin because they've been through it already with this student. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Why aren't they coming to school? They're embarrassed. Their grades, their home life,
There's a
their
lot of
whatever.
aspects to it.
And so now he
So the-
has the ability to understand. Well, this is the best course of action for this kid
like
to
maybe
get
we
back
put
on
them in a
track.
charter school. Maybe we do homeschool. Maybe we do.
There's a lot of
There's
choices.
a lot of
Yeah.
choices, I
Yes.
believe, with that,
Yeah.
Right.
to help them put them back on track. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, get them back in school and learning. Productive. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
What are you doing?
I-
Our cameraman sniffing the camera.
So yeah, I mean, I feel that me wanting to become the next district judge is a good step for me because I like I said mentioned earlier, I still have that I'm not burnt out.
No,
It's that
Yeah,
passion,
you're
that
not
passion to
looking-
help people.
You're not looking to
and-
retire from your duties as a police officer, lieutenant, and then for the rest of your life, starting in May, watch TV.
Right. Yeah. I feel I still have that passion to be able to help people out,
Yeah.
help the community, and just in a different manner than
Right.
police work.
Now you're running as a Republican,
Yes.
okay? I mean, just so people know.
Right. I am Republican.
Yeah, that's I have no judgment on that. I'm a libertarian, so I
Yeah.
can't sign your petition.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Pennsylvania's a closed primary
Yeah,
system,
yeah.
so yes, only Republicans and Democrats, whoever's on the ticket, if you want to say, or on the ballot.
And I sort of get that because if you could in primaries vote for other parties, if I was a Republican, I'd go vote for the worst Democrat out there to get him on the ticket against my guy.
I guess you could do that.
Well, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's why that rule is.
Maybe.
Why
I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the act, Pennsylvania, I think it's been in force, or, it's been since like 1938, I believe, that it's been like that. So it's been a long time, it's been a closed primary system.
So you are retiring. You're hanging it up no matter what
Yes.
happens
Yes.
in May,
In May.
the end of May,
Yes, in May.
and so you getting this job. It's full time.
Oh, yeah, so it'll be.
This isn't something that you're going fishing and when you have time you're going to come be the judge.
No.
This
That's not how
is
it-
a
that's-
full-time gig,
That's not how it
and
works.
you're
Yeah.
committed to doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely a full-time, position. So.
If this is just something that just popped into my head. If you win your election, you become judge. And shortly thereafter, because you're just retiring from being on the police force, let's say one of the officers that's still a police officer arrests somebody for something, and they bring him in front of you, and it's somebody that you have arrested prior. Would you still be allowed to hear that case, or would that be like, would they have to go somewhere else?
No, I would still be able to look at that
I
case
didn't know
because
if
each case is looked at individually,
Well,
and based on the facts of that case and the
it's
crime.
not. It's not like, oh,
um,
dude, I arrested you 4 times before, right before I became judge.
Yeah.
Right. It's the only time something like that would, I guess, play into it would be if it's a major crime and it's just part of their criminal history, because that's part of just the bail system. Looking at their prior crime and things like that.
But they would, could that guy choose to have a different judge? Like if he saw you and he knew, oh, that's the same dude that busted me 3 times. Could he request a different judge?
Well, there's the ability for the judge to recuse themselves from that case. If they feel that there's too much of a conflict.
But the charged individual couldn't say, I don't want that guy to be.
That would be a process that would have to occur.
Well, and it's
I don't want to help the criminals.
Well, I
but I just-
no, that
the
would
system's kind of
That would
redundant.
be something that his
He could
defense would have to.
He could go
Sort
through
of
the
process.
process. There's always an appeal process.
Okay.
All the way up to the death penalty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't stop with one.
Right.
You hear multiple judges will hear that, and they don't have to.
Right.
Okay, but if that's something that no, that wasn't fair. I want to appeal this, or this
Or
board
like
wants
if a family member was brought in front of you.
If it was, I would have to recuse myself. If it was a family member, yes.
Well, I mean, just questions that pop into my head.
because that's too much of a
well,
close
conflict of interest.
conflict.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no right answer there.
Right.
Whether they're guilty or innocent.
Yeah. So I was just curious how it worked.
Yeah.
So obviously you're hoping to be the judge. If not, what's next?
What's next? I'm not sure yet. I'll figure something out. Find
I mean, you always got to have a plan B. I mean,
right. There's
Hopefully,
always a plan
you don't
B,
need your plan B, but
But yeah, definitely enjoy my time off.
yeah.
Spend more time with my wife.
how much time would it be? Okay, you're retiring from police work in May. So you wouldn't technically. When is the actual final election for judge? In
November's the general
and then you would take office next January.
Correct.
So in between now and then, your basic job is campaign,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Just getting my name out, talking with people, going door to door.
Yeah.
Letting them know, who I am, what I'm
Right.
about, things like that.
And you have some social media and ways if people have questions.
Yes. If they have questions, they can look me up on Facebook.
Okay.
And send me a message that way for questions.
If somebody
And
wants to help.
Somebody wants to put a sign in their yard or something like that or help. Yes, they can get a hold of me on Facebook. I will have a website here shortly. I'm still working on that a little bit.
And that has a section for help.
So that'll have a section where you can contact me. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's important. I mean, like I say, I understand the way it is, but I just think it's a position that should be more of a higher thing.
You're right. I mean, 99% of the people you ask what the judge do, they hear a traffic ticket, speeding, stop sign. They have no clue.
Right. Of course, that's
They have no
so
clue what
much,
they're really
but
voting
there's
for.
one more to
because
it.
they're not really involved in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's where it should
Right.
be, in front of people who knew what the job entails. And,
Right, and who is best qualified?
yes. you're
Not
right.
who's more popular.
Right.
That's- yeah.
You're right. Unfortunately, that's not.
I mean, because is there, other than being elected, there is really no qualifications.
You're correct. Right. There's no.
So you have some real popular dude that decides he wants to be judge,
They
and
can
he could be a judge.
Over the
campaign
years,
and
we've
run
had
for
that.
office. Yes.
Over the years, we've had that. Luckily, not in Ephrata. But we've had that already. That there has been judges in the county that you just know, like,
They were
They don't know
fired
what
on
the
their
heck they're
name,
doing.
not on their ability.
yeah. What are you doing? Like this isn't.
And once, if you're elected,
Yeah.
like how bad of a job do you have to do till you can't get fired, can you?
I think
There's a process to that.
Okay.
In the state, yes, that they would question what you're doing, sanction, put on sanctions or similar things,
Okay.
whatever they want, whatever they call. There are rules that you have to follow as a judge and as a candidate to be a judge. There's certain ethic rules that you have to follow.
Okay.
So if some of those rules that are violated, then the
And
state
you could be
the state
removed from
steps
office.
in.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, luckily, we've never had a judge quite that bad.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that that
You're right.
It could be somebody on a whim. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
a movie star or I'm whatever, and
Yes, I can.
I got a lot of people. I got a big fan club. I'm going to run, and they'll vote for me. And I'm
Yeah,
going
they
to take
probably
that
would.
position.
Right. Because you're right.
Conceivably can happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
but
Did we miss anything?
I don't believe. Again, I just I feel I'm qualified to be able to take this
so the first go
do this position.
the first go
take
round
over,
for
so.
you
So,
is the primary election.
yes, the primary is May 16th.
Okay.
So if I make it through the primary, then I would be on the November ballot.
Okay. And if you didn't make the primary, if you were to pursue it, you could. Can you still be a write-in, or
I suppose you can be a write-in.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know that.
I honestly haven't looked that far.
Right. Well, no, you got to have a little more confidence than that at this point. But it doesn't. I don't know that you'd want to pursue that, but it would be available if you did.
I believe it would be.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
All right. So May 16th,
May 16th.
get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
For Eric
Yes.
Schmitt, Republican ticket. You got to be a Republican to go do that.
Well, I cross-filed. You're allowed to cross-file as Republican and Democrat. So I cross-filed as Republican and a Democrat. Then, so the Democrat could vote for me because I am on the Democrat side as well.
So why can't us libertarians have any say in this?
That's the closed primary system. That's the
Since
answer.
you're living on the ancient aliens.
No.
world over here.
I just my whole libertarian thing is I just think there's way too many people getting paid way too much money. Our government is way too big. is what my philosophy on.
Oh.
I'm not a political guy.
Yeah.
I got.
And neither am I.
But yeah, and so that's why I registered. I used to for years just be, I guess it was called independent, where you still, I don't think, could vote for a primary.
Right.
Yeah. So nothing really changed with my. Anyway, all right.
I'm glad you came on because
Oh yeah.
you're
Thank
you're
you.
not
Really.
one that blows his own horn, right? And I got to say, as a judge, that's kind of who you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want somebody who's looking at look at me and look what I'm doing. You want where you're at, but that doesn't help you get elected.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're
He's a campaign manager.
yeah, I'm glad you're here and explaining this.
Yeah.
I just
I'm
hope
glad
that,
you came on too.
people will vote for me based on who I am and my, knowing that I have the integrity and I've carried that integrity through my years of service, as a police officer.
Which is
and
33 years,
and
not 3
obviously,
years.
Yeah, obviously, we'll continue that integrity and being fair and honest and unbiased.
Yeah.
Towards anybody that would come before the court. If I would be the judge.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way you have to be, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've carried myself when I do my police work now.
Yeah.
When I talk with people, you're fair and honest. You want to mediate. You want to be able to come to a good resolution.
Right.
But in that same fact, if something comes, if I would be adjudicating, as a judge, the person needs to be held responsible
Yes.
for whatever, based on the facts and circumstances.
Right.
And if they are they are found to be, held responsible or guilty.
Yeah.
It's still going to be a fair outcome
Right.
in my respect, to that person. So.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
If you want to be
Thank
on
you for the
again,
compliments.
if you want to be on again,
Yeah.
say the first week of May, and remind people who you are. And,
Yes.
they're
Absolutely.
like we tell every guest. There's
Yeah.
only one that has been on more than once, but we tell everybody. You're not limited to.
Okay, well, I appreciate
appearance
that.
On the podcast.
Thank you for the invite, and thank you for the invite today.
All right. Well, I'm glad you came on and you did a superb job. There was like I told you in the beginning, there was no need to be nervous.
Happy
St. Patrick's Day.
Drink responsibly.
Get a ride home if you need one.
Exactly.
All right, we'll see you people. I can't see my, oh, there it is. All right, we're going to have to cut the end of this off. I can't see my cursor in this sun.
Turn it towards me.
Every now and then I see it. All right, well, here's what we're going to do.